The planes of existence. Mysticism, esotericism, and spirituality. These are domains of knowledge and practice that explore deeper, often hidden aspects of reality, seeking to understand the nature of existence, consciousness, and the divine. Within various spiritual and philosophical traditions, there exist numerous stories and narratives that attempt to convey profound wisdom about man's place in the universe. These stories often employ symbolic language and metaphorical imagery to communicate concepts that is difficult to express in conventional words and cannot be measured by physical laws. Different cultures and spiritual systems have their own unique perspectives on the origin and nature of humanity. These perspectives are shaped by cultural, historical, and philosophical factors, leading to a wide variety of legends and myths. Despite the apparent differences among these traditions, they nevertheless share the general notion that humans, like everything else in the universe, are connected to or descended from a divine source. Central to many mystical and spiritual teachings is the concept that the entire cosmos is a manifestation or expression of the divine. The concept of emanation describes a process whereby the absolute unfolds itself into the diversity of creation, giving rise to various levels or dimensions of reality. Emanationism is a philosophical and metaphysical concept that describes the process by which the divine or ultimate reality manifests and creates the cosmos and all existence. Emanationism posits the existence of a transcendent, ineffable divine source or principle from which all existence originates. This divine source is often described as infinite, eternal, and beyond human comprehension. Emanationist systems typically depict a hierarchical structure of reality, with the divine source at the highest level of existence, followed by successive levels or hypostases of emanations. As emanations proceed further away from the divine source, they may undergo a process of degradation or diminishment, resulting in a gradual distancing from the divine perfection. This may lead to the creation of lower realms or planes of existence characterized by imperfection, limitation, and suffering. Emanationism is a concept at the intersection of many philosophical and religious traditions, including Neoplatonism, Gnosticism, Kabbalah, and some forms of Hinduism and Buddhism. In some emanationist systems, the ultimate goal for beings is to return to the divine source from which they emanated. This may involve spiritual ascent, purification, and reunification with the divine through various religious or mystical practices. While specific interpretations and emphasis may vary among these traditions, emanationism generally provides a framework for understanding the relationship between the divine, the cosmos, and the individual soul, emphasizing the interconnectedness and unity of all existence. Plotinus provided the classic formulation of the emanationist theory in the Enneads, which introduces the fourfold scheme comprising the One, intellect, soul, and nature. Gnostic texts often depict a hierarchical series of divine emanations, known as Aeons, emanating from the ultimate divine source. In Theosophy, human creation is viewed within the context of a hierarchical cosmology, where human is seen as a microcosm reflecting the macrocosm. Hermeticism, an ancient philosophical and spiritual tradition, describes a series of planes or levels of reality through which the divine emanates. The principle of correspondence, as expressed in the Hermetic maxim, "as above, so below," suggests a relationship between the visible and invisible worlds, and between the microcosm and the macrocosm. In Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, there is the concept of the tree of life, a hierarchical structure symbolizing the various emanations or sephirot, divine attributes, and representing different aspects of divinity and creation. In Hindu philosophy, there are different planes, Lokas, or levels of existence, which may vary depending on the tradition. One of the most common concepts is the 14 Lokas system, which includes the physical realm, Buloka, the astral realm, Bhuvarloka, and higher spiritual realms, Satyaloka. Each plane is inhabited by beings corresponding to their level of consciousness. Another common concept in Hinduism is Trilokya, or the three worlds realms of existence: Buloka, earthly realm, Svarga, heavenly realm, and Patala, underworld or netherworld. Sri Aurobindo, an Indian philosopher and spiritual teacher, proposed an evolutionary view of spiritual development wherein humanity evolves towards a higher state of consciousness and unity with the divine. This evolutionary ascent involves the transformation of individual and collective consciousness through yoga and spiritual practice, leading to the realization of a divine life on earth. Sri Aurobindo's system of planes resembles a ladder, encompassing various levels or gradations of consciousness, extending from the lowest, the inconscient, to the highest, the supermind, which is directly connected with the ultimate unchanging reality of Satchidananda. These examples illustrate the widespread presence of the concept of reality as a multiplicity of worlds, planes, or emanations across diverse spiritual traditions and religions. They demonstrate and emphasize humanity's deep connection with the divine, while also highlighting, albeit with variations in interpretation, the importance of transcending the limitations of the material world or lower nature to reunite with the higher divine reality. Various spiritual teachings often provide diagrams that visually represent complex metaphysical concepts and teachings found within spiritual traditions. They help convey abstract concepts and philosophical ideas in a more accessible and tangible way, making it easier for individuals to grasp and internalize the teachings. The diagrams of planes of existence offer a framework for understanding the hierarchical nature of reality and the soul's journey through different levels of consciousness. Spiritual schools and mystics often use these diagrams as guides for spiritual practice. By understanding the different planes of existence and the qualities associated with each level, practitioners can cultivate specific virtues, overcome spiritual obstacles, and progress on their spiritual journey towards higher states of consciousness. In some spiritual systems, such as Sri Aurobindo's Integral Yoga, the study and understanding of the planes of existence are important tools on the path of spiritual transformation. This knowledge helps recognize the qualities, forces, and influences associated with certain planes for their transformation and purification. Despite the diversity of interpretations and attributes associated with different planes of existence, these diagrams often affirm common spiritual truths and principles found across various traditions. They highlight the underlying unity and interconnectedness of all life forms and the fundamental nature of reality as divine and infinite. The founder of Neoplatonism is generally considered to be Plotinus, a philosopher who lived in the 3rd century Common Era. He is credited with synthesizing the teachings of Plato and other earlier philosophers into a new philosophical system. Through his writings, particularly his work Enneads, Plotinus articulated key Neoplatonic concepts such as the nature of the One, the procession of the nous, intellect, the soul, and the material world, as well as the concept of spiritual ascent toward union with the divine. Emanation in Neoplatonism refers to the process by which the One, the highest principle or source of all existence, emanates or generates successive levels of reality. The One is transcendent, ineffable, and beyond all attributes, existing beyond being itself. It is the ultimate source of unity, goodness, and perfection. From the ineffable unity of the One emanates the first hypostasis, known as the nous, or divine mind. The nous is the divine intellect or intellective principle, representing the highest level of being within the emanative hierarchy. It is the source of all rational principles and the divine archetypes or forms. From the nous emanates the world soul, psyche, which stands as an intermediary between the intelligible realm of the nous and the sensible realm of the material world. The world soul is the principle of life, animation, and order within the cosmos, serving as a bridge between the divine and the material. Finally, from the world soul emanates the material realm, the lowest level of existence characterized by multiplicity, change, and imperfection. The material world is considered a reflection or image of the higher spiritual realities, with each individual object or being participating in the divine order through its connection to the world soul. Ultimately, Neoplatonism presents a vision of reality as a hierarchical and interconnected system of emanations, with the divine source as the ultimate source of all existence, and the goal of spiritual realization being the reintegration of the soul with its divine origin. Later Neoplatonists elaborated on Plotinus's original model by adding intermediate levels of being, resulting in a graded hierarchy of levels or states of existence, ranging from the highest divinity down to the lowest materiality. Plotinus described the soul's journey from the realm of multiplicity and illusion to the ultimate source of reality, which he identified as the One. He emphasized the soul's need to detach itself from the distractions of the material world and ascend through various levels of reality, ultimately leading to a direct and ineffable experience of the divine unity of the One. This ascent involves purification, intellectual illumination, and mystical union, culminating in a profound realization of the soul's inherent oneness with the divine. The journey begins with the purification of the soul, which entails freeing oneself from attachment to the material world and purging the soul of lower desires and passions. By cultivating virtue and detachment from worldly distractions, the soul becomes receptive to higher truths and realities. As the soul undergoes purification, it gradually ascends to the realm of nous, or the divine intellect. The soul transcends sensory perception and gains access to higher truths through intellectual illumination, leading to a deeper comprehension of the nature of reality and the divine. The culmination of the ascent occurs in mystical union with the One, the ultimate source of all existence. In this state of mystical ecstasy, the soul is completely absorbed in the divine and attains a profound sense of unity, bliss, and enlightenment. After experiencing mystical union, the soul returns to the realm of embodied existence, but retains a higher awareness of its divine nature and connection to the One. This return is marked by a profound transformation in consciousness as the soul integrates its mystical experiences into everyday life and continues to progress towards spiritual perfection. Throughout this process, Plotinus emphasizes the importance of self-awareness, philosophical inquiry, moral integrity, and spiritual devotion. Meher Baba is a spiritual master and mystic who is considered one of the most significant spiritual figures of the 20th century. Meher Baba emphasized the importance of spiritual awakening and inner transformation through love and surrender to the divine. Meher Baba's teachings encompass elements from various spiritual traditions, including Hinduism, Sufism, Christianity, and others. However, he is often associated with the Sufi tradition due to his emphasis on love, unity, and the inner journey of the soul. He also drew inspiration from the Advaita Vedanta philosophy of Hinduism and incorporated elements of Sikhism and other mystical traditions into his teachings. Ultimately, Meher Baba's philosophy transcends specific religious labels and emphasizes the universal principles of love, truth, and spiritual realization. Meher Baba's spiritual teachings have been captured in various writings and discourses, including his renowned book, God Speaks: The Theme of Creation and Its Purpose. In this profound work, Meher Baba delves into the fundamental aspects of creation, the purpose behind existence, and the journey of the soul towards ultimate realization. He outlines a cosmology that describes the evolution or involution of consciousness through various stages, culminating in the realization of the divine. The book delves into profound topics such as the cycle of reincarnation, the journey of the soul through different planes of existence, and the ultimate goal of spiritual liberation. God Speaks is considered one of Meher Baba's most important and comprehensive works, offering spiritual seekers insights into the nature of reality and the divine. Meher Baba elucidates that evolution signifies the soul's attainment of full consciousness, while reincarnation represents the condition of ordinary individuals entangled in karma, and involution denotes the inward journey of the spiritual seeker returning to its source through higher planes of consciousness. According to Meher Baba, there exist 7 inner planes of consciousness beyond ordinary human experience. He labels ordinary consciousness as gross consciousness, solely rooted in the physical world. The first 4 planes belong to the subtle realm, prana, or energy. The next 2 pertain to the mental domain, mana, or mind, and the 7th plane pertains to the self. The process of consciousness involution unfolds gradually as the intense impressions of opposites diminish. During this phase, the consciousness gradually disentangles from the gross world, transitioning away from experiencing the impressions of the physical realm. Meher Baba, the stages of the path. When one's experience of this world is sufficiently mature, the repeated disillusionments in life set one on the right track to discover what is missing. From that moment, the individual seeks a reality that is deeper than changing forms. This moment might aptly be described as the first initiation of the aspirant. 7 planes of involution, according to Meher Baba, from his book, God Speaks: The Theme of Creation and Its Purpose. The first plane, from the cusp between the gross and subtle spheres to full immersion in the subtle. This is the entrance to the spiritual path. Upon entering the first plane, one passes through the first minor phenomena, or partial annihilation of the ego. At first, one experiences subtle impressions with the gross senses. The first plane has 3 associated skies, or asmanses. In the first, one experiences dream and wakefulness. In the second, one sees light globes. In the third, one enters into the first plane proper and is fully immersed in the subtle sphere. The second plane. In the second plane, one is fully absorbed in the subtle world and experiences the infinite energy there. One can perform minor miracles, like making a dry tree green and vice versa, stopping trains and railway cars, filling a dry well with water, etc. Upon entering the second plane, one passes through the second minor fana e batili, or the annihilation of the false. The second plane has two divisions, heaven and hell. After death, those whose good sanskaras predominate experience heaven, and those with bad sanskaras predominant experience hell. A soul on the second plane can see these while in the gross body. The third plane. In the third plane, one is fully absorbed in the subtle world and experiences the infinite energy there. One gains greater experience of the infinite energy of the subtle world and gains greater power. One is capable of grand miracles, such as giving sight to the blind and restoring limbs to the maimed. One can experience different planes and worlds of the subtle world, just as a gross conscious person can travel to different parts of the gross world. Upon entering the third plane, one passes through the third minor fana, fana e-zahiri, or the annihilation of the apparent. Those who lose all consciousness of the body experience vidya samadhi, or divine coma. The third plane has three associated skies. The first is called Indrapad. The second is the Makan-e-Kutsi. Here angels or celestial spirits abide. The third section is called Antar Jinan, which allows one to read the thoughts of anyone in the gross world and first two planes. The fourth plane. In the fourth plane, one is endowed with the same power that is the shadow of the power of God, enabling one to raise the dead and to create new worlds full of life. Located at the threshold of the mental world, the fourth plane subjects one to the full blast of desires and emotions from the mind. If powers are misused, one can fall all the way to stone state. If one refrains from the use of powers or uses them well, one progresses to the fifth or sixth plane. The merging into the fourth plane is Khaled Fana e Malakuti, or the annihilation leading to freedom. Here, one not only feels power, but has occasion for the expression of power. The fourth plane has only one section. The plane and the sky are very close to each other, and the path passes through an intensive curve. The fifth plane. The mind has two sections. In the first, it is inquiring or reflective. In the second, it is impressive or sympathetic. The fifth plane is the domain of thoughts, and the sixth plane of feelings. The mind functions as thoughts, high thoughts, low thoughts, good thoughts, bad thoughts, material thoughts, spiritual thoughts. A soul on the fifth plane is the creator and master of thoughts and can control the thoughts of others. The merging into the fifth plane is the Fana e Jabriti, or the annihilation of all desires. Such an individual is safe from all possibility of a fall or spiritual setback. The Atma Jnani of the fifth plane is called an Arif. This is the stage of Marifat. The sixth plane. In the sixth plane, mind as sympathetic or impressive is the domain of feelings. Here one sees God face to face and experiences love for God in its full force. Though God is seen as all-pervading, the soul still experiences itself as separate from God, with an infinite chasm dividing. The merging into the sixth plane is called the Fana-e-Mahabubi, or the annihilation of the self in the beloved. One experiences Sakshatkar, that is, the immediate presence of God. When realized mind becomes spirit, that is, stops, it sees the self. And when it returns to its working limit, it sees the body and the world when it likes, or the planes and their manifestations when it likes. But when it stops, it neither sees the body and the universe, nor the planes and the universe. And in the ordinary case of the not realized mind, the mind sees the body and the universe only, but cannot see the seven planes. Meher Baba, the stages of the path. On the spiritual path there are 6 stations, the 7th station being the terminus or the goal. Each intermediate station is, in its own way, a kind of imaginative anticipation of the goal. The veil that separates man from God consists of false imagination, and this veil has many folds. Before entering the path, the person is shrouded in this veil of manifold imagination, with the result that he cannot even entertain the thought of being other than a separate, enclosed, finite individual. The ego consciousness has crystallized out of the working of the manifold false imagination, and the conscious longing for union with God is the first shaking of the entire structure of the ego, which has been built during the period of the false working of imagination. Traversing the spiritual path consists in undoing the results of the false working of imagination, or dropping several folds of the veil, which has created a sense of unassailable separateness and irredeemable isolation. Thus far, the person had clung firmly to the idea of his separate existence and secured it behind the formidable walls of thick ignorance. But from now on, he enters into some kind of communication with the larger reality. The more he communes with reality, the thinner becomes the veil of ignorance. With the gradual wearing out of separateness and egoism, he gains an increasing sense of merging in the larger reality. The shedding of one fold of the veil of imagination is decidedly an advance toward light and truth, but it does not amount to becoming one with reality. It merely means renouncing the more false imagination in favor of the less false imagination. There are different degrees of falseness of imagination corresponding to the degrees of the sense of separateness constituted by ego consciousness. Each stage in the process of ridding oneself of false imagination is a definite wearing out of the ego. But all intermediate stages on the path, until final realization of the goal, consist in leaving one flight of imagination for another. They do not amount to cessation of imagination. However, the spiritual path described by Meher Baba does not end on these 7 planes. Essentially, these 7 planes are just the first journey from the 4 journeys. Various mystics and spiritual teachings often place planes accessible to ordinary human consciousness along with the spiritual planes on the same vertical axis. Meher Baba, in his system, chose to separate them into distinct planes and journeys, thereby dividing the processes of involution and evolution. Thus, in addition to the first 7 planes, which Meher Baba describes as the first journey, involution, 3 more spiritual planes are envisioned, described by Meher Baba as the second, third, and fourth journey, evolution. First journey, from Gnosis, the entry into the path, to Phana Phila, the realization of God. Second journey, from Phana Phila to Baka Bila, or getting established in the life of God as God. Third journey, from Baka Bila to Kutubiyat, wherein one lives the life of God as a perfect master. Fourth journey, from Kutubiyat to the passing away as God, while retaining infinite indivisible individuality. The first journey begins with the gnosis one experiences in entering the spiritual path. It concludes in the Phana Phila, or Nirvikalp Samadhi, of the 7th plane, wherein one passes away in God and experiences the realization of self. One who completes the first journey is a Majzub, or Brahmibhut, in Majzubiat, in the 8th state of God. He experiences knowledge power bliss, but remains oblivious to the universe. Chacha the Majzub, one who has completed the first journey. The second journey begins in Phana Phila and concludes in Baka Bila, Atma Pratistapana, wherein one becomes established in the life of God with normal consciousness. The rare one who completes the second journey is a Salik in Sulukiyat. Such a one has attained the station of Turiya Avasta in the 9th state of God. A Salik not only experiences, but also accumulates knowledge power bliss, but he does not use them. The third journey begins in the Sulukiyat of Bakabila and concludes in Kutubiyat, wherein one simultaneous lives the life of God and man. The very, very rare one who completes the third journey becomes a perfect master, Sadguru, Kutub. Such an one is established in the 10th state of God. Unlike the Salik in Sulukiyat, the Sadguru uses knowledge power bliss as well as weakness and suffering for those still in bondage. The fourth journey occurs when the Kutub drops his bodies, gross, subtle, and mental, as passes away as God, retaining eternally the experience of conscious, infinite, indivisible individuality. Such one remains consciously and individually as God in the I am God state of Phana Phila. God is a macrocosm, God is a microcosm, and God is also always beyond both. Analogically, it is true that man is made in the image of God. The top of his head represents the Vidyan Bhumika, Arsh-e-Allah, the highest spiritual state, or the seat of Brahman. The forehead corresponds to the entrance to divinity. The center of the forehead, just above the two external eyes, is the seat of the inner or third eye. When the veil with all its 7 folds is finally removed, man is then able, through the third eye, to see God face to face and sees him more actually and naturally than what he is ordinarily able to see of his body and the world through the 2 external eyes. The planes of existence are a concept found in virtually all spiritual traditions. While differences may exist in the terminology, attributes, and descriptions of these planes, they are often similar in their fundamental structure. In essence, the journey through these planes mirrors the soul's evolution from the mundane to the sublime, from the material to the spiritual. From the foundational planes of physical reality and gross consciousness, the ascent begins towards the subtler realms where energies and vital forces permeate existence. Mystics often refer to this realm as the astral plane. Above it is the mental realm. These mental planes are surpassed by the higher or spiritual realms, where the divine is realized. Here, the soul experiences union with the transcendent, transcending all limitations of form and ego.